With us right now, Neil Sheth. Neil, you are the founder and CEO of Bubbly Digital, found on the web at bubblydigital.com. You know, I saw something, someone had posted a meme. They said, it's hard to, or it's impossible to say the word bubbles in an angry voice and make it believable. So Bubbly is the same way. People just kind of naturally smile when they say it. But you're found on the web at bubblydigital.com, and then rightfully. So that's rightful.ly is your venture, which you've recently launched. So Neil, congratulations on that. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Josh. Excited to be here. Bubbles definitely bring on a smile to one's face. And if you go check out the site, you'll actually see bubbles floating around. So that'll bring another smile to your face as well.
Indeed it will. There are bubbles everywhere. All right. And matter of fact, as I'm scrolling down, that bubble keeps floating around. I want to pop it, but it won't.
You'll notice it gets bigger when it hits the get in touch button.
I love it. Yeah, check that out. Very cool. If nothing else, go see Neil's UI at bubblydigital.com. All right, Neil. So we'll talk about each company if you don't mind. First off, let's start with Bubbly Digital. What do you do?
So Bubbly Digital, I launched that in 2017. It is an SEO agency. So our bread and butter is helping clients to get to the top of Google, basically in front of their future customers, so they can drive more organic traffic, subscribers and sales. That's 90% of what our clients want on Bubbly, as well as content marketing and content creation.
Yeah. So what are you doing to rank higher on Google?
So where do I start? The best way to explain it is it's almost like building a house. You hire an architect, which is equivalent to a strategist on the SEO side. You need an electrician, you need a plumber. So you're going to need some technical SEO. You're going to need content, someone that understands how to create content for Google and to get higher on Google and optimize it for SEO, as well as link building. That's a whole different role. So depending on where the site is, if it's a brand new site, we need to grow the authority to get some trust with Google. If it's a site that's been around for years but just hasn't really grown its authority with Google or grown its presence, then we start to look at the content. We start to look at technical. Technical is another way of saying I need to open up the doors to my website to allow Google search engines to crawl my website and allow users to access it. Ultimately, without getting too bogged down into detail, what we're trying to do with SEO is actually to demonstrate you are a brand, you have authority, you are a credible voice. You are, how do you do that? You get mentioned by other companies and magazines and publications. You create content that is worthy of ranking on page one and actually is useful to your users. And technical, like I said, is opening up the doors. And if you think about this, these are just things you should be doing anyway. Like SEO just happens to use an acronym that sounds complicated. But if you're looking to build a brand organically online, these are activities you should be doing anyway. The SEO is almost like a bonus. And that's how I tend to approach SEO, which is why I'm never disappointed. And which is why I always hate the question of, but how long does it take? Where if you're doing the right things, you'll see benefits on day one.
You're kidding. What kind of benefits do you see on day one?
I'm not kidding. So, for instance, you would optimize your.
Surely you can't be serious.
Yeah.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
So the benefits you're seeing on day one is, like I said, it's in order to run an SEO campaign. Another area that you need to look at is keyword research, is understanding what your clients are searching for. I often say understanding your target audience's persona is overrated. Why do I need to understand my target audience's persona when I can understand what they're searching for? And so I'll often backward engineer it. I'll say, I know what you're searching for. Let me get in front of you. Let me drive more inquiries, and then I'll get to know you once you've bought or once you've inquired. So by doing keyword research up front, creating content up front, you're now understanding your audience and you're applying it to your website. That for me is a benefit on day one. Now, yes, people join an SEO campaign to see an uptick in traffic, visitors, leads. Yes, that's why people say I want to do SEO. But ultimately, In order to get there, you need to create content they want. You need to create content that's engaging. You need to open up the doors to Google. These are all things that are helpful to the longer term, I guess, growth of your brand. And so if you follow the kind of the white hat, the brand tactics, then you'll always be pleased. And that's how we approach SEO.
Yeah, that's great. So, in the world of SEO, I mean, it can be kind of a noisy area. What have you done to, I would say, I mean, obviously there's your services, the way you provide services and so forth, but how do you differentiate yourself in a crowded market?
Yeah, it's difficult. I guess the way I fell into this is I was investment banking for 10 years plus, working for companies like Goldman Sachs, Barclays Capital as a project manager. By night, I was launching websites online. And I grew a couple of businesses over a course of about 6 years. And then I tried to hire an agency myself to say, hey, Goldman Sachs is killing me right now. I need someone else to run these campaigns. And what I found is those agencies never really took the time to understand my business. They shoved me down some generic packages route. And actually, when I looked at the campaign, it was all a bit technical. Some of it looked a bit dodgy. I wasn't too sure, but there's this term of SEO is full of a black hole. And I see, is like looking into a black hole. And what I decided back then was, hey, I'm gonna own my own campaign, and I did that for a number of years before I decided to help other clients. And so by seeing on one end what it feels like on the client side, I was able to solve some of those issues myself. And the way we've done that is A, we understand the business fully before we start the campaign. B, the value in SEO for me is around the content side, is around building a brand. Like, is it a surprise that Google happens to rank websites that are trusted, that have brand value, that have some sort of social media presence, that have been on podcasts, that have some PR behind it? Is it a surprise? Of course not, because Google's business is all about showing quality on page one to keep users returning, right? So that's what I decided on day one. Is it was funny, our sales conversations earlier back then were very much like, hey Neil, I came to you for SEO, but all you're doing is talking to me about content marketing, content and brand and all this, and they were like, I like this part of SEO. This is what excites me. And actually that's what excites me as well, is the content side, is the brand side. Because if you think about it, it's all about building a brand. And that's our focus when it comes to SEO. Yes, we need to make sure technically the site is optimized. Yes, we need to make sure that we've kind of cleared up 404 issues and all these other kind of boring issues. Are we going to rank a website on page one by fixing some meta descriptions or image alt tags or meta titles? Of course not. That stuff's just boring. Where we're really going to kill the campaign in a good way is when we start to create content that the users really, really want, and we start to create with a voice and an expertise that you just can't find just by doing some Google level, surface level research and then creating content. That's never really going to kind of compete in your marketplace. What you need is expertise, and you need to put it together with someone that understands how to create Google friendly content and put the two together.
Now, Rightfully has recently launched as of when this episode airs. And tell me about Rightfully. So Rightfully is found on the web at rightful.ly. And what is Rightfully?
Rightfully is a copywriting on-demand service where you could basically order a sales page, just one, or you could jump onto a monthly subscription of blog content, social media content, sales pages, email newsletters. We just finished a brochure. Rightfully is, it actually came on the back of the pandemic, where we had a number of clients approach us at Bubbly that said, hey Neil, we don't want the large SEO retainers or even the normal SEO retainers. What we really want is we want your content. We want SEO optimized blog posts. We want content that ranks on Google. We want social media content. Or actually, could you interview one of our customers? We really liked the editorial that you guys have done for us in the past. Because as you know, whilst Bubbly is an SEO agency, actually, how do you do SEO? Is build a brand. So we need to do customer editorials. We need to do interviews. We need to We need to write about interesting topics, not just things that are searched on Google. And so we ended up having a few of these requests during the pandemic. And we said, why don't we look to offer just content without the frills? The best way to think about it is, Ryanair, it's a cheap airline here that gets you to the same destination as British Airways. Can we help our clients get to the same destination in terms of the content engagement, brand awareness, without large retainers, without monthly calls, where half of the call is spent talking about the weekend, without monthly reports? And so that's what Rightfully is. It's basically our way of delivering high quality content fast, at a speed or frequency at which the client requires. And it basically means, in a nutshell, the client can increase or decrease the editorial team on demand, essentially.
Okay, cool. So I mean, how does someone start? Like, what does it cost? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's fairly straightforward. When the site will launch, as the time of this, it is basically, Josh, an e-com store. So you will be able to choose it's totally transparent. You'll choose, let's just say, a blog post. You'll order a blog post. You might add some meta tags to it. You might add some other stuff to it, and then maybe some design. And then you put in the order, either on a monthly basis or one-off. And then our content manager will get the order, and then we start to work with the client from there, looking to produce something highly personalized, high quality, and just an epic piece of content. That's what Rightfully is all about.
Yeah. How does that solve a major need in the marketplace?
So the major need is, I don't have the stats in front of me. I probably should, but there's 70 or X% above 70% of B2B companies outsourcing content marketing. And one of the biggest activity that they outsource is the actual content creation. The issue that we have with content creation, and the reason Rightfully is actually launched, is not just because we had that request from a number of clients, is also because it's a personal pain for me. It's hard to find good writers, consistent writers, people that understand your brand, people that understand your tone of voice and style, and that get to know you. The problem with freelancers, and we love freelancers because we worked with them in the past, is that they could get a big project tomorrow, and that basically means you're at the bottom of the pile, right? Or an agency, we're an agency, you tend to go onto a large retainer, and even then they might be freelancing it out. And then you've got in-house, where actually they don't tend to understand SEO, or they may be niche to a particular area, but they don't have the broad spectrum of knowledge. How we solve that is Rightfully, we hire first, and we bring everyone together, and we have training, and we have different experts in different spaces. And depending on the client and the project itself, we'll pair the right writer up and add a dedicated writer to that client. So content is something that every business needs today. It is not just about how do I grow my brand awareness. It is looking at the full customer journey of engagement. How do I stay on top as a thought leader? How do I answer my customers' questions before my salespeople jump on calls, so I don't waste my salespeople's time by answering FAQs on blogs? Content is every business needs it, and it's and that's basically the market that we're tapping into.
All right. So someone who's been listening to us and they're like, okay, Neil can fix some problems around here. What would be like the best way for that person to kind of take that next step in the relationship? Maybe there's some epic content, maybe there's some way that they can get to know you. Where would you recommend for that next step?
Yeah, so look, the Rightfully site will have examples and case studies, and it will have different industries and different recommendations. Ultimately, if they're looking for some guidance, go over to my personal blog, yourbrandfound.com, get in touch. I'm happy to have a quick chat or exchange a few emails if you need a bit of help. If you're looking for SEO help, just go straight to Bubbly. If you're looking for help with company or with your content, go to Rightfully. If you're not sure, come over to my blog. We'll have a chat, and if I think I can help you, then we'll figure it out.
Excellent. Neil, Sheth. And again, your websites are both Bubbly Digital, and that's Bubbly with an I, Bubbli, digital.com. And now Rightfully, found on the web at rightful.ly. Neil, Sheth, thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.